When we start a program, we start a process. Here we can see a process for Microsoft Excel in Task Manager, and here we can see a process for LibreOffice in the Linux. And a process is just like a small virtual machine. Process has its own part of a CPU, its own part of a RAM memory, and it can only access files that are opened inside of that process. For example, Excel have only this part of CPU, only this part of memory, and can only see files that are opened inside of Excel. For any other resources, process has to ask from operational system for a permission to use that other resources. So the purpose of process is to isolate program from everything else in one computer. According to its usage, a process can belong to several groups. If a process has a friendly interface toward humans, then that would be a user process, and such programs usually have a graphical interface or we use them through command line. But if a process is used to support other programs, then that is a daemon. And other programs will communicate with a daemon through its API. Now, service is just a daemon that is giving us some essential functionality. So, for example, AppServer is a front-end for all services that are provided by different daemons. For example, AppServer will give us a web page, but AppServer will pull its data from other daemon, and that would be MySQL database. So in this setup, AppServer is a service and MySQL database is just an ordinary daemon. And it is possible to have a process that is somewhere in between. For example, Microsoft Outlook is predominantly a user process because it has a graphical interface, but this program also has VBA API, so that means that this program is partially a daemon. So the main difference between processes is how we use them. There are other differences. For example, a daemon process will usually start when the computer starts, and then it will continue to work without any user interaction. But we already saw that it's possible to manually start a daemon. For example, a user can manually start MonetDB, and user can interact with that daemon by using some commands. Now, operational systems doesn't know how we are going to use some process. So from the point of the operational system, for example, from the point of the Linux, only processes that are registered inside of SystemD will be called daemons. And it is similar in Windows. Only processes that are registered inside of Service Control Manager will be called services. So what are SystemD and SCM? Well, those are operational system components that are used to automatically start official daemons and services in correct order, to control resource usage, access rights, to log daemons and services, and to restart failed daemons and services. And so from the point of the operational system, this is the only way how operational system can differentiate between ordinary and special processes. So since Windows and Linux are using this terminology, most people will also use this terminology. We will now see two ways how we can manually start MonetDB. First, I will check whether this daemon is already working, and for that I will use this command pgrep. This is process grep. That means that we are searching for our process by its name, and the result should be a number, and that number should be an ID of our process. But we got nothing. That means that our process is not working. And then we will start our daemon, and for that I will use systemctl. And this is system control. This is a console application that is used to communicate with systemd. So we will start our daemon as a part of a systemd control. So that means that this will become an official daemon. So I will run this. I will provide my password. And then we can check whether our daemon is working. Again, I will use pgrep. And now it's working. This is an ID of our process. Then there is another way how we can start our daemon. We can use start command, so we can use something like this. In this case, we will start our daemon and we will use this as our DB farm. So I will run this, but this will fail. So why is this failing? Because we have already started our daemon. So we already started our daemon, and this daemon occupied the port, the default port 50,000. So that is why we are getting this message cannot remove socket files. We cannot open this daemon with default port. So first thing we have to do, if we want to apply this second command, we have to stop this daemon that is controlled by systemd. And for that, we will again use systemctl command. This time we will use stop. So we will stop this daemon. And then again, we will start our daemon manually by using monetdbd start command. So this is other way how we can start our daemon, and we can again check whether now our daemon is working, and it is working. So there are two ways how to start a daemon. We can start it by using systemctl, that is by using systemd, or we can start it fully manual. If we start it fully manually, that means that we are just starting some program, and this program, that is process, will not be under control of the systemd. I will now clear my screen. We will now talk about Mserver5 process. This process is currently not working. So if we check whether it is running, it is not running. So why it is not running? Because we have to open a database in order for this process to work. So again, I will first start our database. So I'm using console application that is used to communicate with MonetDbd daemon. So I will start our database via C. I will start it, and now after it have started, I will check whether my Mserver5 process is working, and it is working. But there is another way how we can start our database and our Mserver process. And to show you that, I will first stop again this database. That means that I will stop this Mserver process. We can check that with pgrep that our Mserver process is closed. So it is closed now. And the other way is simple, to use mclient application to log in into our database. When we use this, we will log to the database, but if database is not already opened, then it will be opened. So I will run this. I can provide my password, which is MonetDB. And we are now inside of our database. So obviously our database is working. I will now quit from this client application, but then I will check whether my Mserver5 process is still working. So although we have exited from our client application, our database is still opened. Now I want to tell you that this Mserver5 process is actually our database. So when this process is open, then we can communicate with database, and this process is used to do queries and to calculate views and so on. This MonetDB console application is used to control MonetDbd daemon, but if we want to communicate with our database, then we should use this console application mclient. I will now clear my screen. Before we start with the next section, I want to tell you something. If we want to use systemd, then it is wise to add our Linux user to MonetDB group. MonetDB user group was created when we installed MonetDB. I will now see who is the member of this group, so I will use getend group MonetDB, and there are no members. I will now add my user to that group. So I will use add user. This is the name of my user to MonetDB group. And if we now use again getend, we will see that now our user is part of the MonetDB group. In order for this to become valid, we have to log out. So I will log out, and then I will log in back. I will start my terminal. Now, I must tell you that this is not always a necessary step. For example, here inside of this Linux distribution Zorin, we don't have to do that. But if we go to some other distributions, then we will have to do this. For example, I will now jump to this other virtual machine, and this virtual machine is using a Linux Lite distribution. Inside of this distribution, I will use systemctl to start MonetDbd daemon, and then I will try to create a new database. But I will get an error message, And this error message is because I don't have permission to access control socket. If this happens, then we should add our user to MonetDB group, and this should solve the problem. I will now try again to create my database, but I will again fail, and I will fail because I haven't logged out. Instead of logging out, we can use one command. That command is new group MonetDB. If I run this command, this is the same as logging out, so we will refresh all of our settings for this group, and only now if we try to create a new database, this will work. So now it will work. I will now go back to that first virtual machine and I will continue with my lesson. We will now see how we can set MonetDB to start automatically after we reboot our computer. I will jump to this web page and I will tell you that we cannot do that with this dbfarm1. Instead of it, we have to use default dbfarm that is on this location var monetdb5 dbfarm. I will now go back to terminal and first I will stop dbfarm1. This dbfarm1 is using default port 50,000, so I want to release that port, so I will stop this dbfarm and then I will run my default dbfarm. When we use SystemD, SystemD will always use default dbfarm, so I will use systemctl start monetdbd. And I will type a password. After that, I will create a new database, so I will use MonetDB create database with the name newDB. I will release this database and I will log into it just to see whether it is working. My password is MonetDB and we can see that it is working. I will quit this session. Currently, my database is working, but we have started it just like some process. So this is a process that is controlled by SystemD, and this process will end after we restart our computer. To give full control to SystemD, we need another command, and that another command is systemctl enable MonetDbd. When we enable this daemon, that means that after each restart, this daemon will automatically start because systemd will start it. So I will now run this command. My password is this one. And then I will reboot my computer. So I will type reboot. And I will reboot it and then we will wait. I will now log in again. I will open a terminal. And then I will test whether now MonetDbd daemon is working. So I will use pgrep command. And we can see that it is working. If we now try to log in into our database, my password is MonetDB, we can see that everything is working correctly, although we have rebooted our computer. I will quit this session and I will clean my screen. We want to log into our database. We don't have to provide our credentials manually each time. Instead of that, we can go to this folder, home, and then the name of our account. And here we can just create a new document of txt type. And I will name it .monetdb with lower letters. Then I will click on create. I will open this file, and in it I will place this text. So my user is this one, my password is this one. I will say this with Ctrl S, and I will close this file. Now we have our credentials set, and now if we are in the terminal and we want to log in to our new database, we just have to say that we want to log in it. We don't have to provide our credentials. Our credentials will be automatically used from that file. I will quit this mclient and I will clear my screen. Currently, default dbfarm is running, and that default dbfarm is using port number 50,000. We also have that dbfarm1 that we have created in the non-default folder, and we cannot start now dbfarm1 because dbfarm1 is also using port number 50,000. If we want to run two dbfarms side by side, then we have to change port number of one of them so that they have different port numbers. And I will do that now. I will change port number of my dbfarm1 to 50,001. And I will use this command, monetdbd set port is equal to 50,001. So I will run this, and now I can normally start daemon over dbfarm1. So we will use normal command monetdbd start, and then I will log in to my database. But now we are not using default port number, so we have to type it like this. We have to provide option with our custom port number, and we also provide our credentials. So in this way, we can now connect to dbfarm1. My password is MonetDB, and this is working. I will now quit this session, and I will clean my screen. Next, I will do some cleaning. First, I will stop Monet daemon that is run by SystemD. Then I will also disable it. That means that it will not start when my computer is turned on. It will not start automatically. And now I can delete my new DB database. We delete a database just like any folder, so we just have to find it and to delete it. Next, I will change back my port number to default port number for dbfarm1, and I will also stop dbfarm1. And beside that, in each of later videos, I will always use these commands here. So I will start my server manually, and I will log in manually. I will now clear my screen. At the end, I want to tell you that databases in Monet are really independent. And this is the opposite from, for example, Microsoft SQL Server. In Microsoft SQL Server, databases are sharing a lot of resources. For example, they are sharing logins, temporary database, resource pools, memory settings, collation, and so on. And some services like backups, replication, and monitoring tools are configured at the server level and not at the level of a database. And this is not the case in Monet. In Monet, we said that Mserver5 is a process behind one database. But because one server can only have one database, Mserver5 is actually the whole server. So this is a server. This is really a server. MonetDbd is just a daemon to manage those servers. So this is just a managing tool for servers, and each Mserver5 is a server. And the only thing that databases, that is servers, inside of one folder are sharing is their port number. So for example, we see a new DB, they're actually servers. They're also databases because one server can only have one database, while dbfarm1 and dbfarm are just of folders.